contract.
Yep.
Boy, history just keeps repeating itself, doesn't it, Jorge?
So the last episode that we were talking about, the Tyson's episode with Triller right now, that he's in terms of what he wants to do away from Triller and in the violation of the contract itself, right? So that same evening, Dave here sends me the actual an article and an actual document, legal document from Triller's lawyers and stuff that was released out to the ESPNs, the ABCs, the CBSs, all the sports networks.
Any broadcast provider that does sports got this legal note.
Exactly. And basically states it clearly right there, right to first refusal of any fight that involves Mike Tyson.
Right. Let's just keep it 100. We touched on this. Triller, if you're spending this kind of millions of dollars, they have good legal counsel. You're not going to have janky lawyers putting these contracts together. And so if you're working with someone and you know for a fact there's a way that there's going to be money going to be made, yeah, you're going to put an option. It's called options. You say right there first, you're going to put an option. Like, if you're going to run this back again, we're up. And if it didn't make any money, then we can say, hey, you can go on to the next person.
Yep.
This made million, at the end of the day, this made 9 figures. You think Thriller's not going to exercise that contract? But here's the thing, though. It's not just Thriller that got issues with Tyson. Holyfield's side got problems with Tyson, Jorge. The reason why we got Thriller saying, hey, if they're going to try to do this, and Tyson talking about he got his Legends Only League, keep a buck. We got first right. So if any broadcast provider try to put it on there, our legal beaver's going to shut that ish down, right?
Yep.
So, but here's the thing, though, right? Holyfield was negotiating with Tyson, thinking that this is going to happen, right? And with all the details, and this is what Holyfield said, they came out public. We were negotiating good faith for about 2+ months. Everything has been agreed on to the point where that's known verbally, to the point where that guaranteed $25 million this time. That's how much money they said, whatever happened, this could tank. You're still getting $25 million. Compared to when Jones and Tyson did it, it was $1 million. So now they know that the foundation is there and there's money to be made, and Holyfield didn't even have a tune-up fight. It's like, people want to see this third fight, right? And then all of a sudden now Holyfield's team, it wasn't Tyson that said, I backed out. Holyfield's team backed out. They said, no, we're not negotiating no more. We're done with this, Jorge, because we were negotiating good faith for months and y'all gonna act like this now? Nah, something ain't right here. And then this all happened the same time when Thriller threw out their documentation. So when we were talking about how contracts could be fluid and not fluid behind the scenes. How, and when a one side says everything was cool till this happened and we're done, and then Thriller comes out with done, there's only one common denominator: Tyson's people.
Yep.
And Tyson, once again, has a history of working with people who does not have his best business interests. He's a man that one time, before all this happened, he made over $300 million when he first retired. The first one had 2004? And doesn't have a penny to show for it at that time. Now he is successful. Now I'm glad that he's doing great with Hotbox, I mentioned before. His weed ranch is doing good. He's doing other sponsorships and promotions. But Jorge, we were talking about this and looking forward to, another. That's the main thing. Tyson, just the allure of Tyson in the interviews alone is the buildup is money well spent for the $49 getting into it. But once again, now here it is. Wrong people involved. And as of right now, the fight could happen to so much money, but for right now, it's off the table.
Yeah, it has to be off the table, and I think there's reasons for that. I think a lot of that is about trying to reset the conversation, reset the negotiating again for it and stuff. So I'm actually in agreement with Holyfield on this one. Pull back, let things cool off a bit and stuff,
Especially when you know for a fact that even if you agree, Tyson, then the issues now is like, let's say our issues go, Tyson and Thriller got an issue because we can't broadcast it because Thriller has Tyson's rights right now.
Exactly.
So you're right. I agree with you on that.
So let's definitely reset everything here. Let cooler heads prevail. Get the right people talking to the right people. And like I said, I don't know if it's something to do with Tyson himself or the handlers or both, right? Somebody's saying the wrong thing. Somebody's mentioning something or someone's got a little bit more greed to it and stuff. Look, you guys signed a contract. You had to be able to be aware, much more aware of what the value you are, right? So if you feel like you're being undervalued after the numbers that came in and stuff, that's a little bit different. That's on you before the contract signed to realize what your value is. And at some point you had to realize you made $300 million. you have value. You always had value.
Always.
So
it's Tyson.
It's
like,
Tyson. You're a brand.
I was telling my guys on the other podcast when we were talking about the pay-per-view in November. I said there's boxing, there's sports, and then there's just Tyson. He's a noun, he's an adjective, he's a verb, he's not just a brand. The name Tyson is everything.
Exactly. He was basically, when you use Google as any one of those words, it's basically the same thing when it comes to Tyson. He's basically classified in all those.
Yeah.
And basically, so for that, he have to have a much better realization of your value. Hell, even get to the point where you overvalue yourself. At least you're bringing that value to the negotiating table, so we can at least start talking to where a number makes sense, to where you don't feel like you're being undercut in any way. So if you're feeling like you're undervalued after these numbers came in, and if that's the reason why you're reacting this way, that's a problem. Yeah. That's a problem. But you set this up for yourself by signing a bad contract, and that it comes down to two things: either you're bad at it, or your handlers were bad at it, and in this case, it still ends up being your signature. So you're both bad at it.
I want to add to that as well. It's his people, and from the last couple of excerpts, it's Tyson as well. And I'm on outside looking in, but you can only read so much what you have, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that when Tyson said, we don't need any promoters, I'm paraphrasing, but you can look this up. We don't need any promoters. They're nothing but glorified cheerleaders. We can do this on our own. I watched that Thriller podcast. There was nothing about cheerleaders from Thriller. To have that kind of setup, that announcing team, the organization that went through, the process, everything, the order of the fights, it was a smooth pay-per-view. I didn't see any issues, any glitches. Matter of fact, I seen more issues on a regular DAZN broadcast than I saw Thriller's first broadcast on Thanksgiving. I mean, that was no glorified cheerleading session that they did. They say, hey, we signed you guys. Here's a ring. Here's a venue. And we're good. And we saw, no, Thriller put so much into that broadcast, Jorge. And I was telling you, here's how I look at it. Thriller has to pay for Snoop Dogg. They had to pay for all the other artists and the other rappers. I can't remember if Big Sean was there. I can't think French Montana performed, so you literally, I think Diddy was there too. I don't know if he performed. I know he was there, but these artists are not cheap. They make bank to perform. Like some of these guys make, I don't know, before COVID happened, like a guy like Snoop Dogg could make $100,000 in 30 minutes performing 2 or 3 songs. Like even French Montana can make about $40,000 in 20 minutes doing 2 or 3 songs. So they got anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 just to show up. You know what I'm saying? So you look at that bottom line of money that's paid to entertainers. That the production is way high value than any boxing promo outfit. So that cost that you normally don't have in a boxing outfit. Then you add all the other backdrop like Mario Lopez. You pay for all these things that you normally don't have in a boxing fight. So you look at the fact that Tyson and Mill made $50 million when it's all said and done. He had a $1 million guarantee. They said a few months ago it's gonna be $50 million. If you're Tyson, you're saying, cut out the entertainers, cut out this high production value, get a regular arena, and then we'll produce the same way. And we probably save anywhere from 10 to 20 million minimum, easily, right? Just from the production, the people working, all that stuff like that, the time and effort. And that's why Tyson said, we don't need this. We can do this on our own. The problem though, Tyson, you have a contract. You signed it, and they did a damn good job. And now you're seeing money that could have been in your pocket, and you're saying if we do this again, that money will be in my pocket. You're gonna have to wait.
Here's the thing, that problem I had with that statement there from Tyson and stuff like that, though. For this type of setup, this is the different setup that Triller's doing, apart from what HBO and Showtime and everybody in the past, Wide Rules of Sports have done, done in the past stuff. Those are typically, it's a boxing event. This was more than an event. This was basically a combination that ended with a boxing event, but basically it's a concert.
It was let me take it back. It was, you had a boxing show. It's an event. The whole report, I'll say, is an event, not a boxing like sports. It was a totality of everything. Entertainment.
It was entertainment. Yeah. But all that entertainment requires money for window dressing, because at the end of the day, you're not going to get people coming in to just a ring unless
and they had to do it because no fans.
Exactly.
So you had to put extra in there with the black backdrop and the way they did it, because if you don't have any fans, the NBA learned to other sports like, yo, this looks crappy. We got no fans. We got to get the angles associated with the cameras. We got to shoot it this way. Like them, they did a whole black backdrop and everything. There was you don't get it. Like, even though you had no fan when you shot it, that cost millions to get that visual right.
It was like a Super Bowl halftime show for a boxing event, right? To think about it in those terms, though, I mean, basically, you have all the fans that are there for the Super Bowl and stuff, but if you didn't have the Super Bowl, you didn't have any fans at the Super Bowl, you still had to basically put some sort of a halftime show with at least a quality setup, right? You might view it as window dressing, but it's good window dressing that's required because it keeps the audience engaged with what they're watching and stuff. Now, this time around, maybe the next fight you have, maybe things are, depending on the location you do it at, things are a little bit different, right? Maybe you don't need as much, right? Because now you actually have fans there that help contribute to the content of the event and to the entertainment. But for now, depending on where you decide to do the next fight, you might have to do the same thing again. So I would never not look at the value of that type of window dressing and say, you know what, let's shave this $10 million right here. No, that $10 million helped get people to watch the show.
Let me just add, the way Triller did that pay-per-view, I want to invest and buy more pay-per-views from them if the matches are right and the whole value is. Now, the Jake Paul thing, I'm not purchasing. I'll catch the that's for that. But like I said, if they're doing Tyson-Holyfield, of course I'm gonna buy that. But Oscar De La Hoya, I want to buy that too. They had one time to get it right. They got it right. When I watched it, I was so entertained. I loved it just from top to bottom. It was unorthodox. Even like I say Snoop as a commentator is dope. You need to have Snoop commentating everything. He should be doing football, basketball. He has his own cooking show. He should be commentating crackers. That's how funny Snoop is, right? All, like you said, all that cost, everything that Thriller did contributed to that 1.5. It came to a successful professional event that they put on. I was shocked. I was watching like, wow, these are professionals. Like I said, I've seen Showtime not do a good production that Thriller in the first time out. I was waiting for glitches and issues, stuff like that. No, it came off like a hitch, man.
They set up a good model for,
and that's worth something. Tyson's looking at that. When you see Tyson's words, I know I'm probably pulling the string, nipping, but you kind of read between the lines. I know that costs so much money to do that, but you put on such a successful show that everybody was like, yo, I want to see the next Tyson fight with Thriller now. I kept saying Tyson Thriller. I put two together. You had a successful promotion with a successful fighter. Business worked. Boom.
They put a good model for putting out this type of like exhibition broadcast, right? So basically by getting the concert set up the way they needed to set up, it puts up a great production value, right? A good example, and like I said, nothing's come out, and I'm pretty certain they're going to do it themselves, is Miguel Cotto and Marquez when we talk about that, right? So if they're going to do this type of exhibition, they got to do more than just make it an exhibition. You got to make this a whole event, right? Whether you bring in, poor performers to do some salsa, some merengue, whatever, and then same thing on the Mexican, you bring some music there. You bring in, as long as you bring enough entertainment, so that way you feel like the consumers feel like they're getting more than just an exhibition match between two great fighters, past fighters, right? You need to be able to get them engaged and watching the show and get them dancing in their own living rooms and shit.
Yep.
So that's I think that needs to be the model, right? If for Cotto and Marquez, if they're not going to do it to Triller, that's how they have to do it, though. And I think any exhibition going forward has to be kind of set up similarly.
Let me level set and bring it back here.